So I even wrote premarital vows.
Yeah, and in the vows he said it.
Yes. I'm not. You check on me like, Paul, if you mess up, it's you. The world is coming for you. You're the man. So
the causes for you being unsure is what you need to examine. You get, is it an issue of his character? Is it something about him that you don't like that is very critical for marriage, or it's just your personal preferences? Sometimes it's just like sometimes a guy comes in a packaging that you don't like, but they have depth of character.
when you're dating, you're swimming downstream. You're seeing the best of a person.
Yes.
When you get married, you're swimming upstream.
You're just getting into a marriage and somebody's like, it is my wedding.
The wedding is your first major project together.
Yes, true.
And it kind of has a window. It kind of reveals a bit of your future, how you'll handle projects.
And I also like that you touched on having culture sessions, because every time we have bridal showers, people are always asking, but who is talking to the men? Who is talking to the husbands?
What do women want?
Fights of respect or not being respected along those lines of
you
someone
haven't
has not really
communicated.
defined what they really want you to do. I had to ask Paul, what is it about my voice that you find disrespectful? Is it? And he told me, that tone. Because for me, I was like, I am loud. I mean, even...
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. You've been hearing from just Mark and I for all these months, but now we're bringing you an amazing couple that we have been friends with since we were dating. They've literally walked the journey of this intentional relationship and godly marriage with us, and it's the amazing Paul and Irene Luguzas. We're going to ask them some questions. So we can get their perspective. Welcome, Paul and Irene.
Oh, thank you, Daisy. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Great to have you guys. And one of the things that we're trying to explain here is that you cannot walk this journey alone. And so while you imagine that a certain relationship is flowing, it's beautiful, it's amazing, have you actually got to understand whether there is a background or there is backup for that relationship? Well, this is ours. So in case we have any issues, one of us has to run here. Yeah. So
you go first, babe. Question.
let's ask Irene first. How did you know that Paul was the one? That's a question that comes up a lot. Like, how do I know that this person is the one? Is there any, did you know, like, this is the guy, or you just...
Is there anything like the one? Even?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, so when I met Paul, we were fast friends. Yeah, so it's not like I thought he's the one. I was not looking at him as, you know, someone that I was going to be with for the rest of my life. But as a friend, I was attracted to him mainly because of his character, his humility, his loyalty to his friends and his family.
So it wasn't like his looks.
Actually, not yet. It was not yet at that point.
Oh.
Yes, because at that point, I think sometimes
That's what
when
I want
it's
to hear, though.
at that point when you're still friends, sometimes it's not like the main attraction of, you know, looks, unless you get, you know, that kind of attraction where you're looking at someone as, you know, a perspective. I think that's when you start to see them. Yeah, but first, what attracted me to him was his character. Yes, and then later on, as we continued to talk, I would confide in him, get his mind on many of the decisions I was making. He had excellent advice, and when he said, "You know what, I don't know what to do about this, but I'll pray for you," he actually would pray for you. Yeah, so that attracted me to him. He was a man of his word. When he says, "I'll be there at this time, we'll do this," you know, he was. You could take him seriously. And I had a past of people who I knew you could not take seriously. So those things really scored for me. So that drew me to him. And when he eventually asked that we get into a relationship is when I actually started seeing him as the one. Yes.
So when
that's
was
when,
that?
That was like probably 4 or 5 months into knowing him as a friend. Yes, working with him in some of the activities that we do as church, and even as we were both in the Faculty of Technology. So once in a while, when I would go for fellowship, I would admire him because I think he was a papa or something like that. So I'd be like, yeah, really nice, respectable young
cool.
man. That guy that's like my kind of cool. That was the kind of cool that I thought was cool for me, actually. Yeah, so when he asked me out, not like asked me out, but asked me to enter into a relationship with him, is when I started seeing him as the one.
Okay.
Yeah.
No presumption.
Yes. Was that the same for you? How did you even think that she was the one?
As soon as you saw her, you were like,
That girl. There certainly details of this story that I am so sure if we decided to talk about this story, we may not have enough time to share it. Yeah, but the first time I saw Irene, she was this dashing girl, really dashing. You know, you see someone through the corner of your eye and you're like, oh my God, that smile. That it was actually a share group, more of a fellowship like we have in some of the churches. And so I saw her through the corner of my eye, but my heart, my mind, and every bit in me wasn't looking there. In a sense, I was actually looking somewhere else at that time, as someone I thought would come along. We had been friends earlier on in high school. And so I'd made my intentions clear and was willing to wait for that person to come around. So when I saw Irene, Nalisi really like I was in my own world. So her presence was kind of felt when she appeared. She used to be in the company of some famous people. And so she would show up and you could feel her company, but she was this happy, had that excitement and energy around her. I was more of a serious guy. Life is serious, life is full of prayer, life is full of, I was more of that kind of guy. So when we would touch something, we would touch different sides of it. She's touched the happy side, I touched the serious side. Yeah, so our worlds began to interconnect when we began to work together closely. When I became a chair at one of the youth ministries at church, and she joined me as the vice. First, initially, she was the happy person, the party person, the outing person. I was the prayer person. Then, when I became chair, she became my vice. So, when that happened, now there was proper confusion and katogo in our hearts, like proper, you know, because now you're like, I am falling for this girl. We are doing everything together, you know. After a meeting, you're walking, you know, back together, you know. So you get to realize, hey, this friendship is picking up, but your hearts are they're in strained places. Yeah, so I had to make a decision at some point. Because, you know, we kind of are drowned and put a boundary around each other, and some friends began to notice and began to ask questions. What's actually going on? You know, when people start to have a liking for each other, it kind of shows. And community is always community loves love stories. So they will engage in somehow. So when people began to do that, we do a bit of soul searching, and slowly at some point, with the help of some counsel and mentors around us, we came to a place of deciding that she's the one. So when I decided that she is the one, she's really the one for me, it wasn't that there was what do you call it?
Butterflies.
There were butterflies.
Okay.
Actually, there were, for me, there were butterflies. It's just that I was so confused because somehow we all have these imaginations of how a story will unfold. So sometimes dealing with your reality and your imagination, your ideal situation situation shocks you. So it can take you into a place of internal turmoil. You're like, am I doing the right thing?
Yeah.
And if you have a personality that's kind of perfectionist, you're like, this is the one decision I don't want to have wrong.
Yeah.
So there was a bit of, if people say it's uneasy, fall in love, no, I'm not one of those. You never hear
Think
me.
about it.
Yes, it wasn't easy. It was tough. I was in love, but I was also, my heart was in turmoil.
Yeah.
Real turmoil. I was really dealing with a lot of those things within me. So when I'd come to a point where I could now make a clear decision, I kind of brought my agenda out to her.
To talk about that point
Yes.
of boundaries,
Yes.
you said that there was that kind of boundary around your relationship. So now it was clear to other people that there's something going on between the two of you.
Yes.
So now
Yes.
the butterflies
Yes.
most likely had also reached Irene, right? Like by that point when
Let her speak
when
for
he
herself.
asked, when you asked her out.
Yes.
So how did you guys maintain the boundaries between yourselves? Because it's natural.
When you like someone,
Nature has it has its place.
Yes.
Whether you're Christian, non-Christian,
Yes.
you have to. In your head, you're thinking, I must get more of this person
Yes.
than just holding the hand. So how did you keep those boundaries, and yet you weren't married yet?
Okay,
Or did you even have the boundaries? And
Yes.
were they kept?
yeah, were they kept? Because, there's that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'm trying to understand
Yes.
what the boundary, what you
With,
mean by
with
boundary
regards
now.
physical.
I get it.
Yes.
Intimacy.
Physical
Yes.
attraction.
Okay.
Yes.
That attraction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you've asked it in two
Contexts,
timelines and
yes.
concepts. Because there's a timeline when we were still friends and kind of getting each other out of the crowd.
So
Yes.
now we are past the.
We are
friend-
past
We've
that.
made
So
a
now
decision.
you decided this is
Yes.
the one.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Okay. Yeah. So when we started working together in a relationship, and we cautiously knew that now we are in a courtship, you would say, or dating, as people call it now. Yeah, we definitely were very attracted to each other. Yeah, there was butterflies. Trust me, it's like every time
You want to be with each
you
other.
want to be with each other,
Yes.
it's like
Yes.
that was your evening plot.
Yeah.
You know, I was on campus at that time, and he would come. We would go have evening things. We always had a plot for the evening.
So
by
he was
the way,
working and you were
At campus.
at campus,
Yes.
right?
When the relationship
when the
started.
relationship
Yes.
started, when we were still
Okay.
in the friendship, whatever, he was finishing campus. Yeah, so he got a job immediately. So when he got the job, yes, there was that evening of his
need to
from
house
work, and
this
the funny thing is he was
No,
working
no,
in.
That's pressure.
He was working a bit far actually,
Yes.
but there had to be a time. No, he didn't even have a car at that time.
He would hustle and come.
Yes, he would have to come,
Yes.
and we would always have our evenings together, whether in the company of our friends. I had a roommate. Actually, it was mostly in the company of people, but we'd be together in a crowd in the evenings most of the time.
All the time? Most
Actually,
of the
like
time.
every day.
So
I would
now-
see him
now-
every day.
What
Like
about those times when
Actually,
those times when
just
it was
the
just the two
the
of
two
you?
of us.
Oh.
We'll talk into that. I must say I have a strange woman for a wife.
Right.
Because when I tell some people what we went through, I don't know if it's actually believable. Because, people talk about Cafe Java, taking someone out. My wife would be like, no, come to my room, I'll prepare something. So right in, her hostel, she would prepare, and she would seem to care how I was spending the money. Even the little I was getting that time, Paul, how is the money going? Part of the conversations you have during courtship, And so I think I remember 2 times I took her out to a serious place, around the proposal time. I think it's only the only time, because after that, even when we went for that proposal time, Irene was like, how much did we spend? Where did you get it from? Should be concerned about how we are spending. So what helped us a lot was most of our courtship was done around activities, because we were doing a lot of work together with young people. So we did a lot of our courtship around that. But concerning the attraction and managing boundaries, it was tough. Part of the reason we defined how long our courtship would be we actually had to come up with wedding dates a bit early. Because when you have a vision, when you have a definition, it's easy for you to, we're going, because we believe in the Christian Judeo values of purity before marriage.
Yeah.
So we told ourselves, we're not going to do this. So we actually...
You're not going to have sex.
We're not going to have sex before
until you
marriage.
get married, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So I even wrote premarital vows.
Yeah, and in
Yes.
the vows he said it.
Yes.
We are
I'm not
going to do this.
So we had clear boundaries. And
So
for
was-
us, we had even kissing was not part
Kissing
of
was
it.
not part,
Yeah.
okay.
So we said no
How about
kissing.
hugs, kissing?
Hugging was all right.
Yeah.
She even taught me to hold her hand. Those days I was that serious. So she taught me how to hold her hand. I'm like, oh, you want me to hold your hand? But I learned.
You only hold the hand when we are crossing the road, and after that you go to move and you're
So
like,
So no kissing, no pecking, no...
No kissing, no
nothing.
pecking, and
And the hug is supposed to be how long?
that's
And how
That wasn't
how do you
defined.
hug?
that wasn't that defined.
Okay.
Yeah, the
But
hugging was not
would
defined.
reach, you hug and you want to stop, and then you hug a bit longer. Then you're like, oh, that's getting
The
dangerous.
vows.
Then you're
Yeah,
the
yeah.
vows.
Right,
I need to protect you. But
Right.
it helped us a lot to have a setting wedding date.
Right.
It helped us a lot to define the timelines, and then it helped us a lot to also have community. We had another couple that was dating at the same time, and they would check on us as we check on them. Like, hi guys, are you doing well?
Accountability.
Yes. Are you accountability? Are you guys? He'll check on me like, Paul, if you mess up, it's you. The world is coming for you. You're the man. So we had a lot of that back and forth. Yeah, we even began a small group that time called TTA, Towards the Aisle, of fellow couples to learn together and to watch over
Get
each other,
group
get
counseling.
group counseling. So it was we kept the courtship really busy with many things to help us, and kept the courtship as short as possible. Yes.
So boundaries, you have to set the boundaries as
As a couple.
You
Yes.
don't go to Google and search what boundaries must I have, right?
Yeah, you have to make a decision.
I like the intentionality in how your relationship started.
Yes.
The fact that okay, now I like this person. We know that with these feelings, it
Yes.
can lead somewhere. So this is what we're going to do.
And it actually helped us as well, because
Yes.
while we were now, even before I asked Daisy out,
Yes.
I first consulted with Paul. I
Yeah.
said, Paul, there's this chick, there's
I'm
this going on,
confused.
there's this going on, there's this going on. So Paul just broke it down to me and said, you're in love. Why don't you just ask her out and maybe start the relationship and see how it goes? So, of course, now we didn't have that discussion of the boundaries. Not
Yes.
that we didn't have
Have
boundaries,
Yes.
but it was nice to know that you guys intentionally set boundaries and actually
wrote them
you
down.
wrote them down and vowed,
And you keep remembering your vows. That's,
Yes.
that's
Yes.
really nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I want to go to the next question.
Yes.
And this one is for Irene. So another question that comes a lot is, especially from the ladies,
Girls.
I'm in this relationship, I'm uncomfortable. I don't even like the guy, but I fear to lose him. And
Like people
how-
put you in pressure to be in a relationship or to get married. Like you're now 28.
Yes.
Time
Yeah.
is
But now this one is more like
Yes.
she's in this relationship, but she doesn't really like the guy. She wants to end the relationship, but she fears she could be desolate, or she will never find a guy,
Yes.
or this guy is everything, or maybe they are already even living together, and they don't have a child yet, or but she doesn't want to settle with this person. How would you advise such a person? What should they do, or what can they do? Do they stay in the relationship? Or
Okay, maybe the first thing would actually be understanding where this person is at specifically. Because if it's at a point where you're maybe not yet staying together, but you not like really like each other, like you're saying in the question, but you're unsure about the person,
yes,
the causes for you being unsure is what you need to examine. You get, is it an issue of his character? Is it something about him that you don't like that is very critical for marriage, or it's just your personal preferences? Sometimes it's just like sometimes a guy comes in a packaging that you don't like, but they have depth of character.
Yes.
right.
You get, so sometimes we try to push, there's the things that bring us confusion
Yes.
are not things that should cause us to break a relationship. But what we need to examine is basically his character, his values. If that is something that is a non-negotiable. I mean, we should have a set of values that we can't compromise on.
Yes.
I mean, for us, like for me, it was, I needed someone God-fearing. I wanted someone who would spur me into, a deeper relationship with God, but also with community. Someone who valued life, valued people. So if it's an issue of, I don't like the way he dresses, or maybe he doesn't have a car, I would have preferred someone with a car, a set of preferences which is not really based on something that is
not even
Yes.
permanent.
not
Yes.
even permanent, then I think you need to examine
Your heart
what
and your
what you
intentions.
really want.
Yeah.
But if it's an issue of character, for example, okay, not to, I don't want to go so much into theory or doctrine, but someone who, for example, abuses drugs,
Yes.
and that's what makes you uneasy. That is something big. You don't want to get into that.
Yeah.
I mean, he might have so many other attractive things about him, but there is one thing that's a non-negotiable. So, what are your values, and are they core?
Yeah.
Or it's your preferences that are causing you to kind of like or not like a guy? Yes.
Maybe one thing we like to tell people we've worked with is when a guy shows you who he is, believe him.
Yeah.
Believe him. If a guy drinks and doesn't control his alcohol take, believe him.
Yeah.
There is a sense in which people have a lot of faith or
He will
positive
change once we are
attitude.
Or
Yes.
you'll change him.
Yes.
It doesn't happen.
Please. When you're dating, you're swimming downstream. You're seeing the best of a person.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you get married, you're swimming upstream.
Yeah.
So
Forever.
better believe what you're getting and
Yeah.
expect it in more
Yeah.
intensity when you get
Yeah.
married.
Yeah.
There are some people who just jump into the wedding.
Yes.
But what are the non-negotiables?
The things
You
that
can
shouldn't be.
answer. Maybe with Paul, you can answer this one first. What are the non-negotiables? Before you marry any person, before you set wedding dates, what are the non-negotiables?
Around the wedding, around
Around
the
making
relationship.
the decision, yeah.
Say, before you even think that I need to set a wedding date, before you
Yes.
put the decision, your foot down and
Yes.
say, this is the person I want to marry.
Yes.
What are those non-negotiables?
I would say the most and the first and most important non-negotiable is commitment.
Yeah.
Before there's a level of commitment, all marriages, the foundation of a marital house is truth and commitment.
Yeah.
When there is no commitment, I've seen people assume on each other. Someone come up with a wedding date, looks for a matron, looks for bridesmaid, and the guy has not spoken.
He has no idea
Yes.
that you're planning a wedding.
So there can be no wedding without a commitment.
Yeah.
Now, after the commitment, there's what we call the gatekeepers. You come into my house, you go through my gate. So there are gatekeepers before you reach that lady. Before so the family, the father, and if the father has not been part of that girl's life, sometimes people assume I grew up with my mother, so I'm just going to just sweep the girl away, and they even come up with very low dowry. And then when the process starts, some
They are
uncle from nowhere shows up and demands for 12
Yeah,
cows.
yeah.
So you need to check who are the gatekeepers here? Whom should we meet? Have you met the parents of the girl? You shouldn't. People believe you can just shock us with the wedding, but as long as you're in an African setting where we are right now, community has a key part. So you need to know, have we met those people? The other thing I would suggest strongly is agreeing on the set of values or the set of faith you're going to belong to or believe or live by. Because there's a scripture I believe we can share here is, can two walk together except they agree? So what theories and values and what are you going to live by? If I'm marrying a Muslim, I can have a very successful marriage with them if I'm a lady, even though there are going to be other women involved, because we're dealing with a different set of values. So you need to, what is your fallback? because you cannot just depend on the two of you. Truth is not, it's not something that keeps, there's a reference.
Yeah.
So you need to agree on what's our reference here. What do we really believe in fidelity? What is marriage about? So one of the things I believe is work around your faith, work around your authority in that faith, and you see, do they need counseling? If we are going to get married, let's say at All Saints, do they need counseling done before you get married? So be aware of the other moving things. It's not just two people in love.
Yeah.
So family, the gatekeepers, then the authority over your marriage, and then most importantly, the commitment from the both of you. Yes.
That's powerful. Irene, you want to add anything?
No, just to stress what is said about the foundations. There are some things that really hold marriage, even at the time when you're making the decision. And I think if both of you can agree on the priority of marriage, because there are so many things that sometimes you see couples working through and you're like, are these guys working towards being together or being away from each other? It's like sometimes you focus so much on what divides you and not what unites you. When you're coming together, sometimes you get to see some differences. You get to see, especially when you're planning a wedding, actually it's like something switches in the both of you. You thought you were seeing everything the same until you start planning a wedding. Yes, you realize, someone dreamt very differently from you. You kind of thought that, we're just getting into a marriage, and someone's like, it is my wedding. I thought about this from when I was young and all that. And that some of that also reveals a lot about character, and personality.
Family dynamics.
Yes. It can kind of bring out certain things that you'd call expectations, and what you would do now to manage those expectations. Sometimes you probably would just sail through and I learned some lessons along the way.
I keep telling people that a wedding is your first major project together.
Yes, true.
And it kind of has a window. It kind of reveals a bit of your future, how you'll handle projects. So I see people, it's training. I've worked with so many bagole, and the character shows up, the reality shows up. Like you get the worst in each other, so we are normally around, tell them it's okay after the wedding cake, this whole thing, someone will look up the other side and things are different.
Why were we fighting about our wedding cake?
I like where we have reached. I feel like we should have planned and had like a 2-part session just for this, because you guys have so much knowledge, you have so much insight that we could be here all day. But we'll see whether we make this a 2-part. But Paul, I want to ask you the next question, because you've touched on it already, and I remember you told me that even when we were planning to get married, you said that your first project together is the wedding, and if or when it's successful, then it will be it's a good testing point to see whether you guys can actually do something together, a project, whatever project. So I have a groom, or I'm a groom to be. How would you advise a groom to be? What are those tips that a guy who is going to get, meet his wife as she walks down the aisle? What are those tips that he needs to know? Whether after the wedding day or for the wedding day, because a groom to be has so many questions. What am I going to do after the wedding? How should I hold this woman? Do we consummate the marriage the night before? Do we?
Those are our biggest questions.
How do I even start? How do I talk to her? Must she?
Prepare yourself. No guy, there's this presumption that men know what to do. Who taught you them? Where did they go to learn?
Where did they learn?
Yes, where did they learn these things? People don't realize sex outside of marriage is so different from sex inside marriage. You know, there are two sides of the coin. On one side is love, the other side is lust. You cannot love the one you lust for. You cannot lust for the one you love.